Dover Downs has its history rooted mainly in horse racing, so we brought more than 22,000 of them to play with Miles the Monster tonight. It's race 13 of the 36 race calendar for the NORA Retro Cup Series in their simulated 2005 season, meaning this summer's stretch to the chase has just begun. Welcome to Pit Stop TV in the virtual Dover, Delaware. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV with Zach Burtis alongside, and it's a pleasure to join you for coverage of the NORA Dover 240. Today's coverage is brought to you by Harpoon Designs, by NORA, and by Whiplash Simcams. And Zach, you and I were literally just having a conversation about this racetrack, about how it does or does not belong in this kind of calendar. Obviously, if you're replicating the 2005 season, it most certainly belongs to be in this calendar, right? Like, Dover has a place back in 2005, therefore, it has a place in this series. I think this is typically, in 2026, one of the more boring races that we see on the NASCAR Cup calendar. However, these are 2003 Cup cars. How might that be different tonight?
It's going to be different in a lot of ways. I mean, you look at the newer style of racing with the NASCAR Next Gen, or even the O'Reilly Series car, or the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series car. There's so many different styles of racing that come to this concrete monster, and even then, Dover has a unique characteristic that we just mentioned. It's a concrete monster. There are not a lot of concrete tracks on the schedule, and even if you find concrete at a racetrack, you're going to find it in sections. Like at Martinsville, the turns on the inner groove are concrete while the rest is asphalt. This is fully concrete, so it creates a different aspect, which segued into our conversation, Andrew. I feel like Dover does have a place because it does produce some interesting racing. You can run all the way on the bottom, you can run all the way on the top, you can diamond these corners. There are so many different lines that you can run at Dover, and you can find some kind of niche that works for you, and maybe, just maybe, you'll be standing in victory lane at the end of the night because of it.
Well, 25 cars have signed in this evening to go racing at this very Dover Motor Speedway. Let's take a look at the standings coming into this evening. There you see the top 24, and things are starting to tighten up. In fact, now that we're into kind of the second third of this schedule, we are now tracking points to the cut line, Zach. That 10-driver cut line is going to get a whole lot more important race by race as we advance through the summer, whether it's today at Dover, in a few weeks at Pocono, a week after that at Michigan. This is going to get more and more important, more and more interesting, and right now, honestly, in this points format, it's very interesting. Only 22 points separating Ronnie Norman and Donald Kite, and those two, I feel like, are very different drivers with very different skill sets. It'll be interesting to see how they manage the summer ahead, along with Wayne Sparks and Kyle Tubb just ahead. They are not safe in any way, shape, or form in this chase. Neither are Brian Jones or Vincent Arthur. I would argue the only drivers that can feel any kind of safe are probably the top 4, maybe top 5. Kevin Baumler might be a slight stretch, but he has been very consistent this season. And then guys who have opportunity just laid out in front of him, I would say the next 5 after Donald Kite: Ryan Housden, Jacob Gladulich, Cody Smith, Brady Motes, even Jake Christenberry are all in great spots. I think Kleba just has to get over his part-time thing. If he can never get back full-time, he's a lock for the chase. But time is ticking. There's only so many races to go.
Just running out of time, Andrew. I'm surprised the cut line is actually so close as it is. And, I mean, not to mention, we talk about the cut line for the top 10. 2005 still had a weird points type deal. Wasn't it within 100 points of the cut line, and it's top 12?
No.
Still mixed match on top 5, or top 10.
The top 10 in points get in, plus anybody who is within 400 points of the points leader. That would not add anybody to this, so we don't have to worry about that right now, and I doubt we will at any point moving forward, but that is the format. So again, top 10 in points, plus any drivers who are within 400 points of the leader, but seniors got more than 400 back to the cut line, so that is a moot point for now. We do, of course, have fantasy and power rankings to get into. We'll get to that in a moment, but first up, cars are rolling off of the grid. Let's take a look at our starting grid here at Dover Motor Speedway. On pole, How about Hunter Sr. leading us to the green here this evening? Dalton Tucker, last week's winner, right over his right shoulder. In fact, 6 wins on this front row in 12 races complete. These two are the only two to have 3 wins in this series at this moment, and therefore they lead in that category. Back in 3rd spot, Chase Durheim. He needs a win. He's been on the cusp. This feels like a race that might fit him. He'll start from 3rd this evening alongside Josh Conover. This is a home race for him. Vincent Arthur, Jake Christenberry, that's row 3, just ahead of Kevin Baumler and Ronnie Norman. And to complete your top 10, how about Brady Motes and Caden Henry Oates?
Moving down the running order outside the top 10, Kyle Tubb and Matthew George make up the 6th row in the 11th and 12th spot. Right behind them, 13th and 14th, Jacob Gladulich and Cody Anderson, and then 15th and 16th on the starting grid, Kyle Rochelle and Nick Ham. 17th and 18th, you'll find Ryan Housen and Nick Glacius, and then rounding out the top 20 is Brian Jones and Cody Smith.
And deeper in the field, Dustin Kleva, Donald Kite. These guys not able to make qualifying a week ago, it sounds like. Jared Skinner will start from 23rd alongside Brad Fulham, and Christopher Heights will round up the back end of this 25-car field. I believe this is the slowest field we've had all season. It will still be fantastic racing. The only thing it might change is just easier times on the leaders lapping some cars later in this race. You see the weather conditions bottom right of your screen, 67.8 degrees in the air. Boy, that's actually pretty chilly with the overcast skies. It is a pleasant day, I'd say, for some racing. Not too hot here. I know this racetrack can get hot in real life, so we're not roasting these guys just yet. We'll see if that changes. That high humidity factor will keep things nice and moist out there, sticky on the racetrack for sure. And Whiplash SimCam's race details, 240 laps, of course, 240 miles. Back to the 77% fuel load, 10 change sets, Zach. We hear that these drivers can go about 60 laps on a tank.
60 laps on a tank, but how long are their tires going to last?
It's a great question. There you see the top 10 behind the iRacing.com safety car. Let's quickly hit those power rankings. We'll catch up to fantasy here in a few, but there you see the Dark Star Garage power rankings. Hunter Sr. on top, but not by much. Josh Conover is just behind at that number 48. Dalton Tucker now right on their heels. Dustin Kleva has dropped just a little bit. Chase Durheim is not far back. And then it's 4 drivers very, very close. Durheim, Jones, Arthur, Baumler, all right on top of one another. And then a couple of stragglers, Wayne Sparks and Cody Smith, as we get ready to go racing this evening from the Monster Mile. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure as always just getting to this point. We have got 240 laps up ahead at the Monster Mile, Dover Motor Speedway. It tends to be chaotic. 25 drivers, they're going to find out very, very soon just how chaotic can be. Starts and restarts here, always tricky. Let's see if they can just get the power down and get this race started this evening. Off of turn number 4, the iRacing.com safety car will take it down to the relative safety of pit lane, and we will go racing. 240 laps at Dover begins now. First lap complete. Surprise, surprise, it's the number 3 leading us across the stripe. Dalton Tucker leading the way after 1 at Dover.
Conover not too far behind, just a couple of tenths, but he's got Hunter Sr. on his back bumper, looking and waiting to see if he can take over that second spot. But the first caution of the day is out on lap number 2, and that is Kite around, and that back bumper has seen better days on that 21 car.
Yeah, Donald Kite in trouble. Talking about him around the cut line, needing a good day. Jared Skinner, he's got a bad one going. Brad Fulham seemed like he might have been slightly off the pace as well, but it seems like this is centralized, those couple of Juicy Spider affiliates, Donald Kite and Jared Skinner, so it's a tough day to be a Spider in Dover, Delaware. A juicy one at that.
I'm arachnophobic, so.
Yeah, you know,
okay
I'm not big on spiders myself. Here we go. Donald Kite, the 21, I think just got loose. We'll go back and get a better look at it this time. I think he just got loose. He's following Kleba and Smith there, who were open in League Discord earlier today about having to come through the field. Kite off the second corner. The car just built free and didn't have room to get it caught up before Jared Skinner was in his back bumper.
I'm surprised that dropped the left front off the car on the 04. That seems very unconventional.
I'm right there with you on that one. Here's the look from Jared Skinner's perspective.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a little strange. But you know what? We saw, go back to the BRB Season 5 opener. Do you recall Magnus Anderson in that Daytona race?
Yeah, I do.
It looks exactly like that to me. Like just a little bit of contact in that same part of the car. And obviously that was an ARCA car versus this being a 2003 NASCAR Cup car. A bit different, sure, but it looks the same. I think that's maybe something just on the iRacing hitbox side. I'm not sure. That's definitely one of the stranger, I guess, suspension damaging incidents that we've seen. Meanwhile, Donald Kite in the pit lane. He has not got a lap down yet, but I think he's about to, Zach. The field, I think they're in turn 4. Yes, they are.
He's going to go a lap down soon if he doesn't get rolling.
And he is rolling. He is rolling off the pit lane. So he will head back out on the racetrack just in time. I really do mean just in time. That's close. You see the numbers on the pit wall. Oh, he might not get it. That was very Lightning McQueen-esque. I don't think he's going to get it. No, he's not.
He is not.
That was incredibly Lightning McQueen-esque, which makes sense for his pit crew uniforms. They are all dressed in Rusty's colors. Anyways, he would have loved the BRB New Hampshire race, but here we go. 5 laps will be complete this time by, and the black number 3 will lead us back to the green. Some special paint schemes out in the field. Of course, you see the black 3 for Dalton Tucker. How about this SpongeBob number 48 for Josh Conover? I love this car. And then Vincent Arthur with Looney Tunes all over his car. That's pretty cool as well. I might have had that diecast as a kid. I'm not sure, but this time around, we'll get this race restarted. 5 off the clock. That leaves us 235 to go. Let's get a quick fan cam restart here early at Dover. It is a crying shame we never got that number 3, that black number 3, versus the Lowe's number 48 that we see here in first and second. At least not in a way that we should have. This is just cool. Specifically, that number 3, that paint scheme, just looks really, really cool against old 7-time. Of course, it wasn't 7-time at the time. But that Jimmy Johnson, number 48 for Josh Conover, he is looking good the last couple laps. He just pulled right up on the back bumper of Dalton Tucker in 3 and 4 that time. Fastest lap of the race.
Fast lap.
Well, until Kevin Baumler came along.
Well, you can't win them all.
Oh, no! You are kidding me. Chase Durham.
Heavy hit. No caution.
Chase Durham is going to be out of this race. He'll get it back to the pit lane. Oh my gosh. The week that this guy has had from the incident at Charlotte a week ago, that it's the effects of which are still being felt. But from that incident at Charlotte to this here, there's a bit of personal news on the Chase Durham side that'll hold for just a moment. He just got loose, just like Donald Kite. Same, I mean, rinse and repeat. That looked the exact same as what Kite did on that one caution that we've had so far. He just simply got a little bit free, checked up, and the car behind didn't have enough room to check up with him. Boom. In the inside wall. That is so much more damning to Chase than it was to Donald, but in this case, the bit of personal news on his side, Zach, he let me know earlier today that he and Chance lost their mother in the last week, and that is just not an easy sentence to say on a broadcast like this. Yeah. Obviously, condolences go to the Durheim family.
Chase has respectively called it a night as well.
Yeah. We certainly hope to see Chase back on the racetrack next week in the Prelude at Eldora, but for now, unfortunately, this race will move on without the number 16 on the racetrack. That is just the worst way that this race could have gone for him, but here we go, battle for the race lead. We'll take a look at this for a couple of laps. Chase is in the waiting for a quick word. We'll give him a second to breathe, but good little fight for the race lead here, Zach.
Yeah, Conover trying to find a way to move around that 3 car. He's getting runs off the top side. Big run down the back stretch. He is looking to the inside, alongside into the corner. Throws it in deep, has the nose in front. But that top side is so good at utilizing the defensive runs off corner exit. Still holding side by side. Conover led at the line. He didn't lead by much, though. He led by only 12 one-thousandths of a second. And now he gets fully clear. Hunter Sr. is going to go on by as well, so Tucker loses 2 for 1. And that's 2 spots in 1 corner. Or 2 spots in 1 lap, whatever you fancy.
The 48 moves up, the 3 moves back, and the number 4 will fill the space in between. Hunter Sr. up in a second, not far back. Vincent Arthur looks good in that 4th spot. Kevin Baumler good in 5th. Jake Christenberry 6th. Ronnie Norman in 7th. And Zach, I gotta wonder, is there something to the fact that a bunch of the names we just listed just raced here in BRB a few weeks ago in the ARCA car? That would be Conover, Baumler, Christenberry, and Norman, and even Moats just a little farther back in 9th. All 5 of those drivers raced in the BRB race right here at Dover a few weeks ago. Yes, different cars, but they seem to be a little more warmed up to this racetrack at the very least. And, I mean, seat time is everything.
Especially in a car now that has higher horsepower and way lower downforce than those ARCA cars. Senior down to the bottom, trying to find his way around Conover. Keeps poking his nose where he can get that clean air. That's going to be a big thing all race long, Andrew, is keeping the nose in the clean air. Conover's running that higher line to maximize his corner exit speed. Look at how much he pulls on corner exit compared to Hunter Sr. But that clean air is going to be beneficial as the run goes on.
Clean air, name of the game, even back in these cars. And we've heard that talked about a lot this season. Even, I would say, especially the last 6 weeks, we've been hearing dirty air and clean air a whole lot more in these races from these drivers than the previous handful of weeks before that. I guess the previous 6 weeks. It just seems like more and more these guys are realizing they're just stuck in traffic a lot. And yeah, even though we like to glorify 2005 and that era of NASCAR, yeah, that was a thing those guys had to deal with then too.
It's ironic that you bring that up, because lately I've been learning that there are a lot of people back in 2002, 2003, or, you know, even 04, 05 that were still upset with the racing product. There were obviously people that were up in arms about the racing product today and how the next gen car drives and how the Gen 6 car drove for a while, and so we got a race for the lead. Hunter Sr. went for it and it quickly dissolves, and now he's back fighting with Tucker. But it's news to me that there were people in 2005 that were saying that the racing product sucked.
Problems here for the 32. Kyle Tubb in the hunt for the chase. That car is not going to make it much farther on this racetrack. He has got some major problems. The bumper's hanging off. fantastic paint scheme. That has to be the work of Cosmin Yanosho. That is beautiful, but that 32 has got some issues. Looks like it's going to be contact with the car he's racing with right there. That is the 12 of Kyle Rochelle. These two are both kind of just outside of the top 10 in power rankings. We showed that graphic a little bit ago, and they are both just outside the top 10. I mean, we're talking 11th, 12th, 13th, right in that range every week, and it's just a little bit of contact, too, from Rochelle that ends up hooking the 32 up into the wall. We see that. We do have battles happening live as, boy, those guys were jostling to get around the 32 car. We have seen a pass for the lead while we were taking a look at that replay. Here are the two leaders. They are quickly catching Matthew George, who spun around in turn 3. What is going on?
Ooh, just gets into the barrel right there. Pulls off the racetrack. That is another spin off of turn number 3. Well, backstretch turn 3 that has not brought out a yellow.
It's off of turn number 2 once again, and this is a bit different. George was under control. Nick Geilis got into him. Geilis has got some damage. Kyle Tubb has just got a lap down. Oh my goodness, what is going on all of a sudden? Let's see the 28 and see how much damage he got. He's got a new look on that car. I'm concerned about that for Geilis. That's some big contact there to the left front. But he seems to pull away okay. And he is still on the lead lap and ahead of a handful of drivers, so I'm not too concerned seeing that he's holding position, but might be some long-term stuff to think about for Nick Geilis. The 28 is still losing spots as there goes the 15 of Ryan Housden by. Kyle Tubb, by the way, I mentioned him in the pit lane. There he is getting service finally on his number 32. That is a huge blow for him in this hunt for the chase. I guess the only redeeming quality in all of this, Zach, is the fact that Donald Kite has also had an issue for him. So Kite's still in the race, but at least hindered at the very least if you're Kyle Tubb. Obviously, that's the kind of guy you're racing right now. These are just the kind of nights that these guys cannot be having. And we're not even 30 laps in.
I think it's just going to get more and more crazy as we roll through the rest of the race, Andrew. Tires are going to start wearing. They're going to get a little dancy, we'll say. These guys are going to have a lot more trouble on their hands.
And look at this. Calvin Baumler up to 3rd. He got by Vincent Arthur, now Hunter Sr. And number 81 is looking good tonight as he now pursues the number 48 of Josh Conover. These guys starting to separate, but also still intertwine, mix around, and battle a bit in the top 10. The next battle behind this top 6 is going to be Ronnie Norman and Caden Henry Oaks. Look at these two. Norman runs in 7th, Caden in 8th, and Brady Moats just behind them in 9th. So, Zach, I've already had some bad news this evening in the form of Chase Durheim being out of the race. Look at this run, though, from Brady Moats. He's on my fantasy team. Chase Durheim is as well, so that's always going to hurt. But I told this number 8 driver he needs to drive fast tonight. He's got a run going here. Caden Henry gets by for 7th. That puts Ronnie Norman back to 8th. That 8 car might have something here this evening.
And he might. Finding his way around the top just as Josh Conover was. More than likely still is as well. Big crossover move right here. Most to the inside of Norman. And that's going to be pass made into turn number 3. Move the 8 car up into position number 8.
That drops Ronnie Norman back another spot as pass here for 2nd happens. Baumler gets ahead of Conover. Maybe not for long. Josh Conover back to the inside. This is the battle for 2nd on the racetrack. And of course, what you can't tell from the track map that we look at before the broadcast really gets going, Zach, is the actual lay of the land. Like, you get to see the layout it takes on a 2D map, I suppose, sure. But this racetrack, I mean, your valleys and hills, right? I mean, you're diving off into the corner, rising back up the incline out of the corner, the racing line naturally narrows up to about a half a car width, frankly, and you know, it just spits you at the wall every single lap. And you just don't get that look from just looking at the track map layout like we do going into the broadcast. So you have to get into the race session like this. You have to see it for yourself to really understand what Dover's all about. This is a proper roller coaster of a racetrack. I don't just mean that in elevation change. I mean, you strap in and you're along for the ride. You are pointing the car and hitting the, you know, I guess it's like teacups at the amusement park. Like, yeah, you got some control, because you can turn the wheel, I guess, and decide how fast you spin. That's about it. Otherwise, you're along for the ride the entire race.
Teacups?
Yeah, the teacups at Disneyland or whatever. Haven't you ever been?
Sure. I've never been to Disneyland.
This guy. Well, okay. Disney World?
No Disney-affiliated park.
This coming from the guy that thinks Speed Racer is the best movie in the world. Hey, look, it's
one of, yes!
It's a good movie! Anyways, here we go. Josh Conover losing the spot to Hunter Sr. That is for third. So the 48 starting to head back, and I mean, this is the trade-off, right? He had great short-run speed, challenged Dalton Tucker for the lead, got to lead a handful of laps, 10 there. But Tucker said, all right, yeah, I'll see you in 10 more. He went by, now Baumler's gone by, now Senior's gone by, now Arthur's trying to go by. That's the trade-off, right? You have some short-run speed, that's awesome, that's great. Maybe you get a chance late in the race to use that. But in a 240-lap contest like this, that just doesn't do a whole lot for you unless you have a late caution. There's no stages to use it at to earn extra points. You're just trying to get to the checker flag first. Unfortunately, the long run pace does not seem to be there today for the 48 car. He is dropping like a rock.
It's ironic because we've seen Josh have a lot of good long run speed, but this is just uncharacteristic. We'll have to see how he handles the races as we go on, but still 200 laps left in the event, and to see him drop back this far, I really think I have a decent idea of what's going on. It's been known that the top side's a little bit more wear and tear on these tires, even though the runs are better. But, I don't know, he hasn't been running that hard from the looks of it. I didn't think he burned his stuff up that much.
No, it didn't seem like he was pushing too hard, but I think just running that different lane. And you know what, Zach? iRacing did some work a couple of years back, actually, to more accurately model the rubber filling into grooves in the racetrack. And Dover, being a concrete racetrack, has more grooves than most anywhere else we'll see in any season of racing on iRacing. I mean, the only track that can really compare is the other concrete track at Nashville, or I guess Bristol. It's really those three, and I guess the corners at Martinsville, because otherwise the asphalt is a much smoother texture at a lot of those racetracks. Here it's got like grooves. It's like the concrete sections on a freeway or an interstate. It's got grooves. You can sometimes kind of feel it pull the wheel a little bit, and it's, you know, it's filling in those grooves in the bottom lane where guys are running and putting down rubber. You go outside of that, the track is going to eat that rubber up off of your tires. So there's a foundation, a basis of rubber from practice that these guys are running on down to the bottom lane. Unfortunately for Josh, there just isn't that on the top side. So he can make great speed up there. He can use those tires and find a lane up there. But long-term running, you're better off down low because those grooves are filled in.
A lot of words, man. I just like watching race cars drive around and go, neom.
Well, here's some good news. The 25 headed back on the racetrack, Matthew George. 21 laps down, sure, but he'll be able to go past Kyle Tubb in a moment, who has called it a day in that number 32. In fact, the next car up the road for George after Kyle Tubb will be Donald Kite, who currently runs 1 lap down behind only Christopher Heights on the same lap. You saw Heights go a lap down a couple of laps ago, actually, getting passed by the leaders very recently. Nearly 50 laps in here at Dover Motor Speedway. Of course, our fantasy picks are closed. I should go lock that channel, actually, in Discord, Zach, but I tell you what, this is already a different race than what I was picturing. As here we go, battle for third. Vincent Arthur starting to use that outside lane. Look at the run he gets.
It's a massive run off of 2. Going down into 3, he's just going to dump that dirty air on Hunter Sr. and not let him mount a charge back forward, and that's going to let that 24 car slip on through and hang on to that 3rd spot. Now he rotates up to the top line, gives Hunter Sr. that clean air once again, crosses over on exit, huge run down the back straightaway.
Meanwhile, pit stops. Jones, Kleva, and Heights all coming in here. This is interesting to see. Only 50 laps in. We were told fuel could go about 60. So there's Jones into his box, Kleva into his box as well. Kleva's got some nose damage. It is punched in right under the grill, and he has to back up into his box. Heights went down the pit lane. He's in his box. And there goes Jones. A quick 14.57. The big loser so far is Dustin Kleva, who ends up spending a decent while just getting oriented in his boxes. Here comes Josh Kahn over to the pit lane. He's going to respond to those other drivers pitting. That should bring in leaders.
I think running long is going to be a detriment to your strategy today, and you know, you can slap me for saying that, Andrew, because usually you and I disagree on strategy often, but I'm usually the advocate for running long and stretching that strategy out in hopes of a caution. But I think today is just going to be that one time that I'm going to say I think it's time to short pit.
I think so as well. However, there's a balance, right? As you see, Hunter Sr., Caden Henry Oaks, Kyle Rochelle also all pit this lap. There's a balance. You can't come in too soon. And I think this is what Ross Chastain ran into at Watkins Glen on Sunday, right? He was cutting the runs shorter. That's great short term. You can make a lot of great pace that way. You're keeping fresh tires on the car more often than not. The problem is, if you keep running too short, you will eventually have a gap where you don't have fuel to the end. So at some point, you've got to balance those short runs out, as that gave me some anxiety right there. Caden Henry exiting right into the door of Vincent Arthur. Here's Kevin Baumler now on the pit lane, along with Cody Anderson, the 2 Bass Pro Shops cars. Anyways, point being, as here's your leader, you can't go too short because you can't give yourself an empty gap. That would be an extra run to the end. So there's some room. These guys can do some stuff, but I will say, if you take 240 and you divide it by 60, that's a pretty even number. So inherently, these guys are creating a pit stop for themselves later on by pitting anywhere before 60 laps complete.
Well, it's a 3-stop race at that point. 60, and 120.
And then pitting now makes it a 4-stop race.
Well, if you got 10 sets laying.
Sure. They've got the tires, honestly. Just adding 1 stop, if this thing goes green, that's probably going to outweigh the loss for sure. But Dalton Tucker in, you see the race leader on the pit lane. There he is, down and away. 4 tires and fuel. There's Ryan Housden, Cody Smith. Brad Fulham is in. And this leaves just the top 5 on the racetrack, currently led by Brady Motes in that number 8. So it seems we may have a few drivers that stay on this 3-stop strategy. 3-stop, 4-run. I think that's how you break it down. Because again, if you split 240 into 4 equal parts, 4 equal runs, that's 60, 60, 60, 60. You've had the caution to begin with. You could have saved some fuel there. So if you're trying to go with the fewest amount of pit stops, Zach, save some fuel to that caution, run to about 62, 63 here, and you're in good business the rest of the way.
Got to think about how much time these guys are going to gain on those tires, though.
Sure, I don't know that it's the absolute fastest way to finish 240 laps here, but it does take out that extra pit stop. As there you see a couple more in the pit lane. Norman and Gillis, they couldn't make it to 60, which makes me wonder if Motes will.
Oh, through turn 3.
I think he's coming in.
Yeah, right here.
He's pretty close, though.
It plays into it, though, Andrew, because he's going to pass his box. Or no, he's going to pass the start-finish line before he hits his box. So he still hits the 60-lap number.
Yeah, but you want to hit 60 complete, and like I said, if you can go to 62 or 63, that's insurance for sure. Here's Dalton Tucker. He has already sorted himself back into the race lead. No surprise there. I think the big surprise of this pit cycle so far is actually second place. Josh Conover has cycled into that second spot. Kevin Baumler into what will be third, as Brady Motes, of course, is in. He's wrapping his stop up now. The final car left to pit is going to be, as Nick Ham pits, is going to be Jacob Gladulich. And that's really not a surprise to me either. He typically does this kind of thing, and he's going to pit now. So he hits 60, and he's hitting the pits immediately. Again, that puts us in the hands of Dalton Tucker once again. He's leading. Josh Conover will take over second. Kevin Baumler will take over third. Hunter Sr. fourth. Jake Christenberry fifth. Here's the big shocker of the pit cycle, Zach. Look who's in the pit lane.
Oh, no!
About 2 minutes ago, Vincent Arthur had something go horribly, horribly wrong while we were checking out other parts of this pit cycle. There you see him down the pit lane briefly. He has had a massive moment. Here's turn 2. Boom. Or turn 4, rather. Boom. Wall. And that's that for the number 24. And just file this in the deepening and quickly growing file cabinet of races he can't have this season. I think realistically, you look at pace alone, the championship comes down to the 3 and 24. But if you look at simply finishing these races, oh, Vincent Arthur is so far off. He has had such bad luck this season, but he's also had moments like this, a couple of them, a couple too many, where we know he's quick. He should get at least a top 5, right? If not, be close to the podium. And just something happens early that just shouldn't. And you see, he was right behind Josh Conover. This is straight out of the pit lane. He would be third right now. And then, this.
I have no words. That's all I can say. I have no words.
I have a couple. Thankfully, it wasn't the week that I had him on my fantasy team. That was last week at Charlotte. And now, if he drops enough points, he might be back down in group number 2 for us to all pick him again next week. Or I guess that would be in a few weeks at Pocono. We haven't yet looked at the calendar. Let's do that quickly. This is kind of a green flag look to the field. You see Dover now top of the middle column. What this doesn't show us is dates. And Zach, we do not go points racing again until June 1st. So from tonight, we have the Prelude at Eldora next week, an off week on Memorial Day, and we don't go points racing again until Pocono on June 1st. That's quickly followed by a bunch of other summer tracks. Michigan, Sonoma, Chicagoland, Montreal, Daytona, Pocono again, and the list goes on.
I completely forgot about the Prelude.
Yes, sir.
For those not well-versed in NASCAR knowledge, in the early 2000s, basically a lot of the NASCAR, what was then the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series or the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series drivers would take a bunch of dirt late models, head on up to Eldora Speedway, and run some good old-fashioned dirt racing. They call it the Prelude to the Dream. And they took their own paint schemes off of their own race cars and stuck them on dirt late models, and boy, did they look good.
It was a pretty cool kind of crossing of worlds, and obviously NASCAR got back into dirt racing about a decade later with the NASCAR, at the time, Camping World Truck Series. And now, NASCAR has kind of left dirt back behind for the top 3 national series, but it's still a mainstay fixture for the ARCA Menard series to go dirt racing a couple of times a year at Springfield and DuQuoin. But, of course, we are not taking these cars that we see tonight racing next week. We're taking Pro Dirt Late models. That's not the limited Dirt Late models, not the slowest, it's also not the super, so it's not the fastest. It's right in the middle. It's just enough power to get you in trouble, Zach. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, if only the freaking late models didn't have bodies like glass. They break so incredibly easy. So we're going to see guys dropping out of that race faster than we see them dropping out of this one.
You say that, but I don't think it'll be that bad.
Oh, you never know.
Time will tell. Time will tell. I don't think it'll be that crazy. We've seen some good dirt races here on Pit Stop TV, even with sprint cars. In fact, the Dirt Sprint Car Championship Series comes back this week at Eldora. So we get a little tune-up for us, Zach. 410s at Eldora this week. Pro late models at Eldora next week. Should be fun. But we are approaching 1/3 distance in this race. And I'll be honest, Zach, it's a little bit earlier than I thought we'd be hitting this point. I don't want to jinx anything. Maybe I should knock on wood, but man, I mean, this race it's got some good pace to it so far. That's a good thing. These guys are really having a proper race here today where they've got to be on top of it all night long. Well, we talk about fantasy all the time. Let's kind of refresh ourselves. What is going on with that? Well, of course, we'll take a look at the standings in a moment, Zach, but just looking at what this is a fantasy game with NORA drivers brought to you by Whiplash Creative and TZO Designs. Basically, we are just building our own little fantasy teams each week with the drivers that race in NORA. I mean, that's all there is to it. We pick a few drivers each week, pick the fastest lap winner and the race winner. That's it. So it's very simple. I think people hear the word fantasy and they get a little bit scared off, not really knowing what that means, as there's a great fight here with Brady Motes going by Caden Henry Oaks, using Nick Ham as a pick in the number 88. It's a nice job there by Brady Motes. He still isn't by the 88 car, but he at least got the pass on the 84 of Caden Henry Oaks. But again, it's very simple. We break the standings down, the point standings for the drivers, into 3 groups. Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, you pick one from each group, and then you pick who you think is going to be the fastest lap and who you think will win. That's it. In these standings, Zach, with that all in mind, look at who is on top. John Scavnicki. He's not here tonight. Also, Kevin Baumler has gone by Josh Conover once again for second. But even though Scavnicki's not here tonight, he might not have picked this week. Regardless, he's been blowing us out of the water in fantasy, but last week, things tightened up. You see Kevin Baumler much closer. He and Josh Conover had about as perfect a week as you can have, and that brought them right into the mix for the lead. I'm kind of just hanging on there in 6th, but Zach, you know whose name I don't see on here in the top 10?
I'll say it. I'll say it.
Did you pick today?
No.
This guy.
Josh Conover and I can continue to have our BRB Fantasy Live rivalry.
No. They're playing other games. They're playing for other leagues. You got to get in on it too. Josh Conover has been one of the best at playing the fantasy game across ARN, BRB, and NORA. And he and Zach have gone a little bit back and forth about who's going to win in all of that. And so far, Zach, you are slacking. You got to pick a little bit more as we hit the 3rd distance mark in this race. Brady Motes, he's looking good. He's top 5 in fantasy, and he is delivering me the most points of anybody on my team right now. By the way, shout out to Jordan White. He has been dedicated to Josh Conover and Jordan White. I think they're the 2 biggest Pit Stop TV fans right now. I don't know if we're going to have an actual listing on that, but they have been awesome. Fantastic guys. There's a battle for 7th here. Ryan Housden and Brian Jones. Housden chasing, Jones defending. What we haven't done yet, Zach, is watch anybody from the driver's POV camera. Here it is. I mean, I know Dover is a relatively smooth surface in terms of, like, actual bumps. But these guys are still moving around a good bit as there goes Housden to the inside of Jones for 7th.
Has been making moves on that bottom line. Look at who's right in front of him. If I'm not mistaken, that's Kleba right there. No, that's Nick Ham.
You are mistaken.
Well, yeah, well.
Dustin Kleba is down here in 14th spot. He's got that center punch to the nose. He's actually just ahead of Jake Christenberry on the track, but Kleba is a lap down in 14th. And this might be where the part-time thing catches up to him. He's got 2 wins on the season so far. I believe those came at Bristol and Richmond. So he's been the short track ace so far. And I would honestly throw Dover in... you know what? It depends on the day. Some days I'd consider a short track, some days an intermediate. And frankly, Dustin, even for the half short track consideration, he ain't got it today. I don't know if this is a matter of he's been working so much that he can't practice right now, but he is 14th. His pace does not look like it's up there with the other guys that are mixing it up for the championship this season. So, again, I'm not sure exactly what the issue is right now for the 9 car, but he needs to find something here if he wants to get a good points day out of this.
Are you saying on the right day you would classify Dover as a short track?
Yeah. You know what?
It's coming from the same guy that doesn't classify Rockingham as a short track.
All
It
right.
says Pocono has 5 turns.
Well, Pocono has 5 turns. The Rockingham thing is just to get a rise out of you. However, the way I got my start in sim racing, Zach, was my own league. Now, obviously, we know when we see leagues on Facebook or whatever, or on consoles especially, we see the league owners make a logo or whatever with a big corporate entity alongside. And so, I fell into that. At 14 in 2014, I named my NASCAR 14 Xbox 360 League the Irwin Tools Short Track Series. All right? Now on NASCAR 14, Zach, how many short tracks did we truly have? Because we can't, at that point, you know, we didn't have 5 flags, and we still don't in NASCAR games. But it wasn't like the sim, where you can take cup cars to 5 flags, or to Hickory, or to Thompson, or to Stafford, or anywhere else, right? So you're limited to the NASCAR short tracks, and at the time, 2014, honestly, that's pretty far back. That was based on the 2013 season, okay? 2013 is closer to 2000 than the 2026 present day. Just for I guess perspective there. So the schedule then is still pretty throwback. Yeah, well the schedule then was still pretty throwback in that regard. We've seen a lot of changes in the NASCAR schedule in the last 10 years, right? So in the 2014 game, NASCAR 14, you only had, for true short tracks under a mile, Bristol, Martinsville, Richmond. It's not a very fun league if you only go to 3 tracks. So, we tossed in Dover, New Hampshire, and there was one more. Why can't I think of it? I think it might have been Darlington. No, Darlington's not a short track, it's an intermediate. But you can make the case. You can make the case on Dover and New Hampshire. They sit right at a mile, and depending on how you measure it, if you measure it from like the middle or bottom lane, you could shorten it up to just be just under a mile. So anyways, on the right day, the right cars, even these cars, since they're so fast, I would almost consider this place a short track.
You know, sometimes I still get reminded of the creativeness that a lot of us kids used when we were playing NASCAR games growing up. I say kids, I mean 10, 15 years ago, I was playing NASCAR games growing up, and you know, when I first started doing league racing, that was on NASCAR 15 Victory Edition. So, when I first started, we were doing, I guess you could say, fantasy in a way. We had, obviously, like you said, unconventional tracks and ways to shake things up. Well, a lot of things that we used to do were to use off layouts of the tracks. Notably, New Hampshire. We would go to New Hampshire and we would utilize the infield road course section right there at the end of the track in 3 and 4.
My league hated me for that.
I thought it was fun.
Me too.
I thought it was a great thing to do. The laps still counted. It was like, why not? We also did it with Homestead.
Yeah. There's a couple others you can do that with. And I mean, yeah, at one point, I even tried arguing that we could do a quarter-mile race at Charlotte, and that was well before I ever got my days of covering Summer Shootout for now 7 years at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So, yeah, back in the day, I mean, those were the days. But here we go, battle for third. We've been on this tangent for a while now. Hunter Sr. goes right by Josh Conover, and Zach, these guys are in the final 10 laps of their runs in some cases. They're coming right up on pit stops as Conover crosses back underneath the 4-car of Sr. We are coming right back up on pit stops, and you see kind of where these guys are at. Things look very similar, but I will say, obviously, Dalton Tucker has pulled away a bit more, and Kevin Baumler looks really good in that second spot. I am really seriously regretting not picking him this week. I picked... Who did I pick out of that group? I picked Durheim, that's right, and he's wadded up in 24th. But I've been a believer in Kevin Baumler the last month or so. I mean, he got pole at Richmond. He looked great there. I think he was pole here at Dover and BRB. I mean, he has been looking really, really good lately, just on the sim in general. Tonight might be one of his best runs we've ever seen out of him. He's second, only 6 seconds behind Dalton Tucker in this long 90-lap run. Give him a chance. Equal footing versus Dalton Tucker. Heck, give him a tire advantage. He might be able to win this race.
I was going to ask, when do you think he's finally going to convert those poles performances into a race win? So
hopefully soon. Pit stops. Brian Jones back in the pit lane. And he is not the first, I don't think. No, he is. He is the first to hit the pit lane out of this run. The other car I saw hit the pits recently was actually Christopher Heights. He is still on the pit lane, Zach. He has been down there for nearly a minute. This could be a penalty for Heights if he was speeding. If so, we'll know in about 5 more seconds. But my reckoning is that he's done for the day. So
at this point, it's just stuck there.
Here's Josh Conover then, 4th place. Also, we are down to 9 cars currently on the lead lap as Hunter Sr.'s in deep. Nearly gets into Cody Anderson. Might have hit him just a little bit. This is 3rd and 4th getting held up. Jake Christenberry's racing with Kyle Rochelle behind these guys. Rochelle is not on the lead lap, so that's another lap car over these guys up. And could you imagine, Zach, if we had another 18 cars here tonight?
It would have been way worse. Way, way worse. Conover's really getting stuck up there on the top side and into him. And that's Conover slip on through for the 3rd spot. I'm sure Hunter Sr. is not going to be too happy about that one.
No, sir.
I'm sure if you're Anderson, you're going to say, well, you washed up into me. But I'm sure if you're Senior, you're going to say, well, you held me up.
There you see Cody Smith and Kyle Rochelle on the pit lane. Really, it's a matter of time before the rest come in. I think Brady Motes will be the last of them, but battle here still. Hunter Sr. right on the back bumper of Josh Conover. This is for 3rd and 4th positions. And you can hear them modulating the throttle a ton right now. Kind of trying to give it power, backing out. As here we go, pit stop maybe for the 48. Yeah, Conover's coming in. This is at 54 laps complete. He was one of the first in the previous stint. Christenberry's also in. That's a bit early. And Caden Henry Oaks comes in. Both of those drivers at 52 complete. And there goes Christenberry back on the racetrack as Conover approaches his box. I will say, Zach, if ever we get in a situation where we have a caution mid-pit cycle, anybody who is still on the racetrack and has not yet pitted, I mean, that's an easy lead lap advantage for the next, however long until we get another caution. Let's remember just how slow pit lane is here, 35 miles an hour. Meanwhile, guys are whizzing by you at, a buck 50, a buck 70, a buck 80 into the corners. And so now we await our race leader on the pit lane. That is Dalton Tucker. I think he's hit about 100 lead so far tonight. Well, about 10 away. He's at 90. Second place currently, Kevin Baumler. He's still on the racetrack, but Hunter Sr. comes in, and look at this, Zach. The 48 is back down.
That is not what you wanted to see.
This must be a speeding penalty on exit and a pass-through thereafter.
Looking on. Can't see any black flags on my race control end for anything along those lines.
They'll have surely been cleared by now by race control, but the point is that he had to come in and serve that. And so
yes,
problems for the number 48.
48.
I want to see if it was speeding, if we can tell, or if it was unsafe exit. And there is a difference. By the way, Tucker is now in. Motes and Gladulich continue. So that green cone there, that's the exit of the pit lane. That means you can pick up speed. But until this blue cone on quarter exit of turn number 2, you have to stay on the apron. And Conover did that, so it was definitely speeding on exit.
It could have been speeding on entry, though. He was very, very close to the,
I suppose,
exit line.
We have seen that a couple of times where he asked race control to clear it. That way he can serve the pass-through after versus being held in the pit lane. I'm not sure which is more beneficial, but there's Baumler back on the racetrack. He is going to cycle out currently behind Brian Jones. Somewhere, I mean, probably 6 seconds behind Hunter Sr. even. So he's got a lot of work to do once he gets... Once this cycles out. I mean, he is effectively in about 5th when he pitted from 2nd. And we have a handful of guys left to pit. Brady Mote's one of them. Once again, he assumes the race lead here for a few. I gotta say, Zach, this has been not a super eventful race in a good way. I mean, we had a lot going on there once we got back going after the first restart of the race. So that was pretty eventful. But this has been very green flag. Over 100 laps green. I'll knock on wood for that. What we don't have right now is a lot of viewers. So I don't usually ask this, but those of you watching, especially over on YouTube, if you're enjoying this race and just having the chats and whatnot, seeing what's going on at this event, if you enjoy this broadcasting, share this broadcast with your friends. Let's get a community in here talking up tonight, because this race has potential to be very, very influential, I think, in this season as a whole. I mean, you're seeing a just beat down right now from Dalton Tucker. But this could be a very key race heading into this summer stretch. And we don't have that many of you watching tonight. I don't know what's going on this Monday evening here on May 11th. I guess take away Star Wars, Zach, and a bunch of people have other things to do on a Monday night, as there's a battle between Nick Ham and Nick Geilis. Ham actually wins that fight. Look at this gaggle. There's a handful of tire strategies here in this. Let's see, the 11 and the 4 are on new tires. The 12 is as well, but he's a lap down. I think the 33 is in the same boat. The 88 and the 20 are on old tires. And you see the 11 and 4 finally dance their way through. The 12 is trying to follow. Wow, that was hectic there for a moment as Christenberry gets a dose of Hunter Sr. to his inside. Crossover maybe?
Christenberry down low. Gonna take the move into 3. Is he going to get clear on exit, though? No. Still side by side. Senior back through.
Nick Geilis to the pit lane. He has gone 57 laps that previous run. And he is in for service finally in that number 28. We are still waiting on Brady Motes and Jacob Gladulich at the front of the field, including Roddy Norman. And then Nick Ham to pit.
Let's take a look at this and analyze it a little bit. Look at the gap between Tucker and Motes this run right now. This is how much that he's realistically gained from running longer than the 3 car, and that gap continues to wind itself down. 14 seconds over Tucker. This is the gap in your bottom right from Tucker to Gladulich, the 2nd place car, and that's going to be affecting him even more so as Motes is headed to the pit lane. but Gladjulich at least had a lap over these guys when he went in for his first stop. He's not going to have any advantage over Tucker this time.
Just look at the last lap time. Jake Gladjulich 24.4. Tucker over a second faster. And I mean, that might not sound like a ton, I guess. Tucker's 10 laps into his run already, and Gladjulich still is not pitted. Also, I mean, that's a second and a half nearly right there in the last couple laps, as Gladjulich has been gradually slowing down. That's, again, nearly a second and a half, second to a second and a half. Do that 10 times, and you've already got 15 seconds. A lap here is only 23, 24, as you can see, so he is picking up, just since Tucker has pitted, he has picked up most of a lap on the 20 car. And there's Gladjulich in the background.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Gladjulich pitting there in the background, so that will change things up and end that little storyline for now. But there is Tucker on the backstretch. He has got a 9, now nearly 10-second race lead over Hunter Sr. They're Senior in 1 and 2. Christenberry is in third, about 10.9 seconds back, call it 11. And then Baumler is in fourth, about 15 seconds behind the race leader. So through the advent of just sheer attrition, whether it's pit penalties or small incidents here without, here and there without a caution, we have dropped 6 cars out of the race and a couple more by penalty out of the race for the win. Unless we get a handful of cautions to give them an opportunity to get back in. I mean, the car right behind Baumler, for example, the 48 of Conover, he's the perfect example of somebody who was in the fight for the top 5, if not the win, and self-inflictedly is now out of that. I mean, he's nearly 2 laps down. He's behind Kyle Rochelle. He's 12th currently, just ahead of Jacob Gladjulich. And Gladjulich might pass him. I mean, Conover's been on the racetrack 15 laps longer than Gladjulich with his new tires. The 20 car might actually catch and pass the 48 soon. Meanwhile, one of the few stories of somebody actually going from the back to the front tonight is this guy here. Look, he's going to grab another. Maybe that was close. Maybe unnecessarily close into turn 1. Regardless, Cody Smith started 20th tonight. He's only had 1 caution to help him as a backboard. Yeah, he is 19, nearly 20 seconds behind Dalton Tucker, but he is on the lead lap. He is now 6th.
A heck of a run. 14 spots up right now. If we start getting closer to Driver of the Day nominations, I would stick his hat in the ring for a run so far like this. Absolutely. And realistically, Andrew, you can't even say that he had that caution to fall back on because that was lap 2. There was barely any chance for him to make up positions on that run, let alone even call it a run. That was 1 lap.
And he was right in front of it, too. So, I mean, everybody was just getting themselves situated, if you will. The race was literally just getting started. So, you're right. By the way, just 7 cars on the lead lap right now. These are the final 2 of them, Smith and Jones. And there is not a battle of less than, or a half second or less, within the entire top 10, or really the entire field right now. The closest battle is Smith and Jones, and even that is nearly a second split apart at the moment. The closest fight is now this, the 12, the 48, and the 20. They're all a lap down. It's Rochelle, Conover, and Gladjulich. Rochelle's been out there for 25, Conover for 21, and Gladjulich for just 6. And there goes the 20, right on by the 48.
Yeah, this race is not doing any favors for Josh Conover at this point. He is just struggling to keep himself in the mix, and I mean, can you blame him? Earlier today and yesterday, really, got to experience his first Mother's Day with his new baby and his wife, and they said that they were all over the place, out all day, and he might still be feeling some of that today.
That's always an interesting and certainly special experience, that first Mother's Day and Father's Day for a couple of young parents, new parents. There goes Conover up into the wall. That's now 13th spot for him. He will grab that spot back, at least for the moment, as Rochelle was stacked up down low. He's now got a mirror full of Nick Ham. And actually lets Ham go. Ham is down in 16th, an extra lap down to the number 12 car. But Ham pitted 18 laps later. Well, if you're enjoying what you're seeing this evening, a big thank you certainly goes out to all of our partners with the series. Harpoon Design, Sparks Builders, Clark Contracting, and NORA, the National Oval Racing Association. And a big thank you to those who help us here at Pit Stop TV. Whiplash Simcams, MXWraps.com, ATVO, Murders Esports, CC's Business, the North American Racing League, Whiplash Creative, and TZO Designs. There's a good look at Monster the Mile, or Miles the Monster, not Monster the Mile.
Hate to cut you off here, Andrew, but real quick, trouble for the 28 car on pit road. Big damage on the front end. Contact with the race leader, Dalton Tucker.
Oh, boy. Let's see what happened here to Nick Geilis just moments ago. You see him just get to the pit lane. Here he is with Dalton Tucker in the number 3. This is turns 1 and 2. We've seen turn 2 be a problem spot today. Oh, my gosh.
Andrew, I want to call it as I see it this time. I want to be kind of blunt about it, but that feels no different than 1 week ago at Charlotte.
Yeah. Boy, doesn't it look similar? You know, I've said before, obviously intent matters in these kinds of instances. And I think in this case, the intent will matter again for the number 3. I mean, that looks exactly like Tucker into the back end of Durheim at Charlotte last week. The big difference, and I just know this is going to be a popular conversation, the big difference is at Charlotte last week, Tucker was pretty open in the fact that he meant to hit Durheim. He feels, these are his words that I've summarized here, he feels that Durheim aero blocked him for 20 laps or so, and it was just a pain in his side, and he was over it, and so he gave him a shot to kind of say, hey, I'm here. The problem with that is that was right off a corner exit, and these bumpers don't line up to begin with. So the car is still pretty light. I mean, it's settling back in, and certainly I think the aerodynamics were certainly pushing that 16 back down pretty nicely out of the corner at that point. But regardless, it's still a lighter part of the racetrack. You're not loaded up in the corners. There's Moats and Jones battling for 7th and 8th just ahead of the race leader. Point being, he hit a car on exit. The car is still lighter in that spot. It's not loaded up in the corner, and that's going to get you loose every time. And it was called a caused caution on the 3. Obviously, league members, they know what they know, etc. But the difference here, Zach, is it's a lapped car. He was just kind of following. I don't think he was really thinking about it. I will say, not to drag this out too long, but I will say that's still on the 3. He's still got to be responsible for not hitting that car, obviously. There's a car ahead of you. Don't hit it. He hit it. I mean, you know, if you break it down that way. But I think intent matters, where last week he wanted to hit the 16 to send the message, and then it wrecked him. In this case, I think they were just lapping and just happened to make contact. Still is not a great look. As there's Brian Jones, now 1 lap down to Dalton Tucker. And Brady Moats might actually have something here for Cody Smith. Here's that fight. I mean, it's still a distance, right? I mean, that's Kleba ahead, so don't get too worried about that. But Moats is really climbing up the ladder here. He, of course, one of the last cars to pit. And, well, let's wait a lap here. See what the distance is at the stripe. That's the best indicator. But I do think he's going to run this 42 car down at some point, as we are now within 100 laps to go to the end of the race. Cody Anderson, he's going to fall back to 12th as Josh Conover goes by. And problems for the 12? No, not problems. He's pitting. Rochelle is in.
This is unexpected.
He's only run 39 laps. I guess this is the point, Zach, where you've realized if you're adding a pit stop, you may as well try and even that out. So we talked earlier about this race being straight up 60, 60, 60, 60, 4 equal parts. If you divide it by 5, you don't quite get 5 equal parts quite as nicely. I mean, you certainly obviously can. You don't get 5 equal parts quite as nicely as 60, 60, 60, 60. By 5, you would have, I guess, 48, 48, 48, 48, 48. So I think Rochelle is trying to kind of make up for some of that, because 48 and 48 to the end is 96. And we are at that point. 96 to the end, 95 to the end. So I think he's trying to even things back out for him so that it's equal runs on the tires to the end, which, I mean, from a driver's standpoint, Zach, I guess you can talk on this, right? You, I think, kind of naturally want it to be equal runs to the end, because it, at least in my experience when driving, it's more, I guess, preferable. It's preferred to not have to think extra while driving, if that makes sense. It's kind of like in The Office, Kevin Malone, why use lot word when few word do trick? In this case, you want to be as streamlined on racing as you can, so if you can just have to always manage the same tire stint, that's better, because you don't want to have to go longer on one stint and think about how you get to that point, making sure you save for it, versus a shorter stint in the race and trying to think about how you can best use your tires in that time. You want it to be equal so that you can think as little as possible and just worry about racing. Does that make sense?
In a way. Sometimes it's just easier for me, in a way, to think a little bit more about what's going on. I mean, as a driver, you have to be able to make split-second reactions. You have to be able to do that quick thinking in that microsecond, not hesitate, and stick to your guns once you do make that decision. Sometimes you're going to make the right decision, sometimes you're going to make the wrong decision, but it all just happens so fast. You have to be ready for it.
90 laps to go when the leader gets back to the stripe here. That is Dalton Tucker. This, honestly, this has not felt like a normal NORA race from earlier in the season.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Look, not in that regard, because we've had caution-free races already. Well, maybe not caution-free. Or was Phoenix flag to flag? We've had very green flag races, I guess, is the best way to put it, already this season. So it's not in that way. But we just don't have a lot happening. And that is weird.
Look, man, you're scaring me.
Time will tell
You're
exactly
scaring
how
me,
this
and
goes.
I will have none of it.
Watching Dalton Tucker working with Dustin Kleba here. This is for no position, of course, but oh man. That 9 is all over. The 9 of Kleba's been on the racetrack for 44 laps. Tucker for 43. So right again, here we are, Zach, again. The end of a run. Everybody's pitting again. Here's Brian Jones in the pit lane.
Jones being one of the early takers. Has been so far this summer. So, did I say summer?
Possibly.
Look, man, I got racing on my mind in so many different ways.
That's fair. Here goes Jones out of the pit lane. Down in the way, very uneventfully. And there's Tucker still trying to get by the 9 of Kleba. And right now, I think Hunter Sr. is probably Dustin Kleba's biggest fan. Hold that 3 car up. Let me try to get closer. Here comes Tucker. This will be a move into turn 1. Sure enough, there he goes, right to the bottom. You did, in fact, say summer, apparently. I won't lie, I was looking at other monitors trying to decipher some other data myself, so I wasn't exactly tuned in, but... Kayla
Look, I got
Rondeau,
summer shootout on my mind.
That's fair. Kayla in the chat has helped us out there, so we appreciate her as always. She didn't have a smoothie for me today, but that's okay. She does so often that she deserves some days off. There's Brian Jones. New tires on the racetrack. He checks up there for Dalton Tucker. That's that give and take, man. I mean, he could have tried to force the issue and try to get by quicker, but it's the race leader. Obviously want to give him some respect. And here comes Cody Anderson to the pit lane.
You know, Andrew, if Tucker keeps expanding this lead as much as he is so far throughout the race, then we're going to end up having the whole field up down. Wow!
How's that for a moment into the pits?
That's a nomination right there for Murders Esports, Murders Mega Miss, if I ever saw one.
Don't tell me a non-crash is going to be Murders Mega Miss tonight.
I mean, what else do we have to look at, really?
Well, I mean, it is an engaging and intriguing race because of the strategy differences, but that doesn't mean that every moment is filled with, you know, off-the-wall excitement. That was still pretty close for these guys, getting down to the pits, making it into the pit lane. That was Brad Fulham in the white and red 91, Cody Smith in the white, red, and black 42. Here's a look from the fan cam. I mean, this happens in an instant. Oh. So Zach says that is the current nomination for Murders Mega Miss. So you got cars back in the pits. Jake Christenberry, along with Kevin Baumler, they're down and away. Ryan Housden as well. This will be a fun little race off the pit lane for a couple of teammates over at DEI, the 81 and the 15. They've got to figure it out. Housden says, no, you go ahead. And they will blend back up around some traffic. Something tells me the 48's coming in. Yes, he is. The way Conover didn't push the issue right behind those guys, that told me everything. But he comes in after 53. And Zach, as far as getting to the end on just one more stop, all these guys who are pitting now, after their stop, they'll have just one more. But there's one driver on the racetrack that's trying to go one more from where he is now, and that is Brady Moats. If he can go, and he won't, but if he can go 20 more laps, he's got it. I don't think he's going to get there. He's been on the racetrack for 43. Maybe. I mean, he's going to be close. Hunter Sr. is in. Here he comes into his box. He was the pole sitter this evening, so he gets that first box. You see Tucker is in the background. And so he will join Smith, or Sr. rather, at the end of pit lane. And Brady Moats reassumes the race lead. There goes Sr. And there's a flashback to Tucker. Keaton Henry Oates has gone long on this run. He's still on the racetrack. And there is the driver of the 84 out of Front Royal, Virginia. He's going to pit.
You know, Andrew, this question comes to mind for me at this point. With how long we've been green flag racing, and with just how things have shaken up and how big of a lead Tucker has over the rest of the field, how do you respond to that if the race continues green? How do you respond with catching up to him in such a way?
Take tires if he got him and hope that he's the caution, maybe. I don't know. I mean, if you're anybody else on the racetrack, yeah, I think you, well, I guess other than his teammates, perhaps, you're probably just wanting the 3-car to be the crash. Give you a chance. I mean, and hasn't that been the way it's been in NASCAR at times in the past? I mean, look at decades, I guess. I mean, go back to the 50s. Herb Thomas dominated. 60s, 70s, it was Richard Petty. The 80s, you had Darrell Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt. Rusty Wallace even at times. Bill Elliott at times. Fast forward to the 90s. I mean, it was Earnhardt and Gordon. The aughts, if you will. From 2000 to 2010, of course, it was Jimmy Johnson. You could throw in, I guess, in specific windows, Jeff Gordon, maybe Mark Martin, maybe Roush Fenway as a whole. But that's nitpicking. Really, it was Jimmy Johnson. And then in the teens, I'd say Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick. I think, is that fair? And then even the Penske duo of Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano at one point. In all of those moments, maybe not in the 50s and 60s, it's a little too far back, but at some point in each of those other decades, and even now with Kyle Larson and, well, Kyle Larson, there's always a subset of fans who just want them to lose, want them to crash, whatever, because they're good, because they win specifically championships. I mean, I recall as a kid, I hated Jimmy Johnson for no reason other than the fact that he was winning championships. He was winning races. He dominated. He was just always so dang good. And now, Zach, I look back, I'm like, wow. I mean, I got to witness, in my opinion, the greatest driver in NASCAR history go on his run of 5 straight, 7 total. That'll never happen again. So, obviously, that's a completely different scale than NORA at Darlington tonight. But all of these guys want the 3 car in the wall because they ain't him.
You know, it's funny you bring up Jimmy Johnson and hating him for no reason other than he was winning. Ironically, I tried to hit on a girl by talking about Jimmy Johnson.
Oh, that was left field.
When I was 15, and then the first thing that I thought of was, dang, I hate that he's winning so much. And that's what segued the conversation.
Zach, you're a man of many talents and a man of many stories, and that still is one that I did not expect. You still find ways to surprise me. We've known each other for like 5 years now. We've broadcasted at least a couple hundred races together. We've spent a handful of times at the racetrack, and somehow those are words I never expected out of your face.
What can I say? I'm an interesting man. I got things I never even talked about.
Interesting is a way to put it, for sure. We love you, Zach. Honestly, look, I appreciate the efforts of Super earlier in the season a couple times when he had to fill in for you, and I'm sure that'll happen again. There isn't a person that I'd rather do this broadcast with, I will say.
Much appreciated, my good sir.
Except for maybe Mike Joy. He might have you there, Zach. I'm sorry.
What?
Mike Joy might just have you. But that's a topic for another day. Brady Motes is on the fringe of hitting a fuel number that would green light him to the end of the race. He's about 5 laps away. I promise you, we are still paying attention to the race. We've had a lot of tangent conversations tonight. I think we've had such exciting broadcasts, such exciting races that just never give us a chance to talk, that we've been bottling this in for at least 6 months. But here we are, Zach. We've got a chance to talk and go on tangents, but we're now coming up on 60 to go. Here's a look on board of Cody Anderson. That teal car ahead was Josh Conover, who just passed him for position, and he is disappearing into the shadows. Is that number 48? And then on a different plane, you've got the 42, who's just behind the 33, who has been chasing that 15 of Ryan Housden. They are battling 7th and 8th spot right around the 33 and 48, but of course the 15 and 42 are on the lead lap. Never mind, they're not. Conover and Anderson are 2 laps down. My goodness. We have 5 cars on the lead lap, and two of them are about to be a lap down because Gladjulich has to pit here soon. He has just been passed by Tucker before Gladjulich is even pitted, so Jacob might even go 2 down, and then Brady Motes is only 6 seconds up the road. So whenever Brady decides to pit, that's absolutely at least 1 lap down, if not 2 as well. And he looks like he's pitting this time. And in fact, he is. That worries me, Zach. That's about a lap short of where I'd want to be, and that's a lot of lockup right there coming in, too. I really think he needed to go at least 1 more lap. I don't like that look at all for the 8 car.
He's going to have to save. Now, the only one good on gas at this point would be Gladulich.
There is the number 20. He's got a couple of laps on moats, so he should be able to drive into one pit stop territory. And so that's where this race changes. Because instead of Gladulich being behind here in a moment, he's actually second, only 3 seconds off the leader, because now we are into the pit window to go to the end, and he's about to pit to go to the end. So he has run one less pit stop and reset himself at a spot where he's actually second, so long as he didn't just speed into the pit lane, Zach. He just pit from second, about 3 seconds off the leader.
Take a little gander at the goose. Let's see if maybe he had gotten himself a speeding penalty. I'm not seeing anything right now. He hasn't called out to race control to clear that black flag and serve that penalty, but he might be in the clear.
He might be all right. He's not the only one in the pits. Ronnie Norman is in for his final stop. He also seems to have saved fuel and gone the distance here. Once these guys realized it was looking like a green flag look, they got it going. So there goes Norman back on the racetrack. Gladulich now is 2 laps down, but again, he's now good to the end. He effectively just pitted from second. And he can run all the way to the end of the race. So now we wait everybody else to pit, including our race leader Dalton Tucker, who has got, by the way, an 11-second lead over Hunter Sr.
.9 seconds to Cody Smith as well. That's your sixth place car, and he is the last car on the lead lap. Brian Jones, the first car, 1 lap down. Then it's Caden Henry Oaks, and Josh Condover's back inside the top 10.
A great question out in YouTube from Jordan White, wondering what the heck happened to Vincent Arthur. He picked him in the fantasy game. So basically, Jared Skinner ran in the back of Donald Kite on lap, was it 2? Lap 2, I think. And Kite spun. Well, Kite got loose in the first place. Skinner out of the race, left front broken. Then Chase Durheim, who's 24th, so next up the road. Chase Durheim got loose out of turn 2, got hit. I guess it was by Vincent Arthur, wasn't it? And Durheim crashed. Yeah. And that was that. So Durheim's out of the race. Kyle Tubb. Let me think. Similar
he got into it
incident.
with Kyle Rochelle.
Yes, and I can't replay that incident in my head, unfortunately. But yeah, Tubb out with early damage. I thought he could have continued, honestly, but the repairs might have been too great. Arthur then, after pitting on his out lap, got loose out of turn 4 rather, overcorrected into the outside wall. Day done for Vincent Arthur. No caution there. We've only had the 1 caution today so far, by the way. And then Donald Kite. I actually don't know why Donald Kite's out of the race. As here's Tucker and Smith. These two, oh, they're best buds. Then Christopher Heights parked it a little bit later as well. Guileless recently got hit by the 3 car out of turn 2 and spun him into the inside wall, and Guileless is now out of the race at the moment. And there you go, Nick Guileless actually coming through and giving us the rundown of what happened with the 32 and 12. Honestly, it's just been one of those days where it's like it's in one eye and out the ear or something. I don't know. The saying is in one ear and out the other. But
yeah, you had me confused there for a moment.
We've seen so much racing in one straight go of it. We haven't had any cautions since the second lap of the race. And actually, look at this. Here comes the 20 of Gladulich. He's trying to get back to 1 lap down. He's right behind Cody Smith, who just went 1 lap down. fires up underneath the 42. There's problems ahead of the 25 as well. Matthew George, he had problems earlier in this race. He's back on the racetrack now, admittedly 21 laps down. That was close into turn 3. Elijah down low of Anderson. That's going to be close off the corner. George up there too. Watch out. They figure it out. But just barely as Smith fires back on the outside of the 20 car. You know, Zach, I had a thought just now that I would go check how your fantasy team is doing tonight.
Yeah.
No fantasy team for Zach Murtis this evening. He was lame. He didn't pick.
I'll pick tomorrow.
Well, again, here's your reminder to get in on the fantasy game along with Pit Stop TV here for the NORA Retro Cup Series. You can still join even if you missed today and missed the previous weeks. That's okay. There will be drop weeks before the chase. We haven't started figuring them in just yet. I think I'm going to after this race since we have a break from points racing. But you can still get in, make picks, be a part of the community, and play for something. We will have a die-cast stand thanks to TZO Designs that will have some mounting gear and other stuff you can put on your desk or put it on your wall and proudly display a die-cast that I'll be putting up for the winner as well. So a die-cast stand plus a die-cast, that sounds like a lot of fun to me.
Oh, you know it. Been itching to get one of those myself, actually. I feel bad because I told Anthony, I said, hey, once I get my tax return, I'm getting one. Hey, once I get my tax return, I am absolutely getting one. What are we in May now?
Yeah, I think they call that real life. And that one quieted the room. Well, once again, a big thank you to our partners with the series, of course, Harpoon Design, Sparks Builders, Clark Contracting, and NORA. And our partners here on the channel, Whiplash Simcams, MX Wraps, ATVO, Murtis Esports, CC's Business, the North American Racing League, Whiplash Creative, and TZO Designs. Brian Jones hitting the pits.
This will be his last stop of the race.
And this will begin to be the benchmark of drivers pitting for the final time. We'll start to get an idea very soon of exactly where these guys will pan out. I know Jones is in somewhat early here, but I mean, Dalton Tucker, he's still got 15 laps to his run here if he runs it out the same length he has been. So we may not see this whole cycle be complete and may not have a good picture of how this race will end for at least 20 more laps.
Could you imagine if we get a caution in this final pit cycle? That would shake everything up. And I know that we've been rolling through this race, and I'm sure we're itching to see how it's going to end, even though we probably already know how it's going to end. But
I'll be honest,
one
Zach,
can
I would
only
not want
hope.
that. You see a bunch of cars in the pit lane. Kevin Baumler, Cody Smith, Caden Henry Oakes, Ryan Housden, Brad Fulham, all pitting. And Housden will drop off the jack and roll away. Yeah, no, I would not want a caution right now. Even broadcaster me. I'll tell you what, let the pit cycle out, and then I'll take a caution. Mix things up. I hate when cautions come out mid-pit cycle, don't you? I mean, it is so much harder to understand what's going on.
I'll say, we just got a black flag for someone unsafe pit exit.
Would that be Cody Anderson? No.
I believe so. I think it was Cody, actually.
No, he hasn't pitted for 45 laps. It could be this guy, Kevin Baumler. He's back in after a one-lap stint, so it's Kevin Bumler. That
Here
sucks.
for unsafe pit exit, so it must have been something coming back up onto the racetrack.
He has had a career, quiet but career night. Just, I mean, top 5, having a good day. Let's see this run out
The
of the
night
pit
to
lane
end
for
all
him.
nights.
Let's see this. So, again, earlier I mentioned you have to stay on the apron until you pass that blue cone. He did not do that. He absolutely got a bit of the racetrack there mid-corner. And that shows you just how sensitive that system is, Zach. I mean, let's see it from another perspective, if we can here. He doesn't get much of the racetrack right here, just enough to say his right sides were on it. Dalton Tucker is in, down and away, 42 laps complete on his run. And Hunter Sr. after 43 will pit as well. And so now we get to see how this is going to work. Dalton Tucker is behind Jacob Gladjulich, but Zach is not by very much. 3 seconds at most.
There's a gap in the bottom right hand of your screen, and look at just how fast it's closing.
So that gap is now to Conover, who's right behind Gladjulich. It's those two cars directly ahead. You see the orange down low, the blue up top. So it's now a second to Conover, who's on old tires. Regardless, Tucker is on the way. I don't think he's going to be denied here tonight. Brady Motes is ahead of Jacob Gladjulich, so if Motes is good on fuel, technically you're looking at your top 3 of Motes, Gladjulich, and Tucker currently. But here comes the number 3. You know,
20 seconds, the gap.
We talked earlier about different decades in NASCAR and hating drivers because they're just that dang good, and Dalton Tucker fitting into that. This kind of feels like 90s or maybe 80s Dale Earnhardt just having a really freaking good day. Class of the field, easily.
That's an understatement.
Battle here for what is technically second at the moment. Motes and Gladjulich, the 8 and the 20. I don't know how this is all going to end, Zach. We have 30 to go. Make that 29 here in a moment, but I'm intrigued to see how this all pans out. As Gladjulich will actually pass Motes here, which makes me wonder if Brady's saving fuel. Who's that?
Tucker's not good on fuel, isn't he?
He just pitted.
Oh, he did, didn't he?
The only drivers left to pit to be good to the end are race leader Jake Christenberry and currently 5th place Josh Conover. And then actually Dustin Kleva as well. The rest are, you know, trying to go to the end. And here we go. Christenberry will pit inside of 30 to go. And this is what some of those guys were trying to avoid, is having this short run to the end. Because now you've also run on slower tires earlier, and you're not going to use the full extent of this set. So this makes me wonder, does Jake try taking 2 here? He also doesn't need as much fuel, Zach, so that actually could work. Let's see.
Box.
Four tires.
There's 2. Yeah, it's going to be 4 right here.
I think at that point it's worth trying the 2-tire call, but maybe not in a position to do so, so he grabs forward and keeps on digging. Meanwhile, Cody Smith chasing Brian Jones. Jones is about a second up the racetrack. Back there he is. And guys that started the day... What's that?
We were so close to our second caution of the race. Cody Smith almost went around in turn number 4 just a lap or two ago off the back bumper of Kyle Rochelle. That could have been hair-raising.
Josh Conover is in. He just made it into the pit lane for his final stop of the race, and we still await Dustin Kleba in the pit lane. So drivers that started the day decent and have had bad days since, I would actually put Kleba in that mix. He looked alright to get going, but it's not really panning out very well, and he's 11th. So he hasn't necessarily had anything bad happen, he just hasn't had his usual pace. But it gets a lot more difficult when you get to guys like Josh Conover working back on the racetrack now. He's just ahead of Kevin Baumler. And, I mean, Josh, you see the 10 laps led early in this race, fired off with fantastic short-run pace. Then, a speeding penalty. And he has just been trying to tread water since. He's 2 laps down. Might get back to 1 lap down by the end of this thing, but he's only got about 20 laps to do it. Kevin Baumler, a lot of the same story. But instead of short run pace, it was long run pace for the 81. He came alive late in the run. Looked really, really good on long green flag runs earlier in the day. Then, pit penalty. Here he is, 15th, 2 laps down. Those will
Drivers
be
having up and down days.
I think those will be the 2 largest storylines out of this, maybe as well as Arthur and Durheim.
Just a lot of up and down days. How about Cody Smith? He was up into the 6th spot. He's currently sitting in the 9th position. Lap 213 for that little incident he had in turn number 3, by the way. He's still on a decent recovery drive, up 12 spots for Hausen. How about Gladulich? Let's take a gander at that goose for a moment. That number 20 car, you know, we've seen him. He's not a unfamiliar face on Pit Stop TV. He has been involved in Icon Cup Series when we covered them for a long time, and you know that's where we kind of saw some notoriety with his types of strategies, where he likes to run long. He likes to be the one that gambles a lot with staying out and finding where it may work in his favor, and he snuck himself in to that postseason, the season that we covered with them. And now look at him. He's sitting in the 2nd spot. His strategy has realistically worked in his favor tonight. And you know, at a time when I usually say, run long, that's the best way to go, I tonight said, don't do that. He did it anyway, and look at him. He's got to be, in my opinion, Andrew, the best performing car on strategy right now, whereas Tucker is the best performing car on pace.
I think that's fair. I think I agree with that. Kleba, by the way, in the pit lane now with just 16 to go. I don't know about that move, but he's actually only going about 15 miles per hour. I think he ran out of gas. So even more so, I don't know about that move. I mean, that's just a flounder of a pit call. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work out very nicely at all. He goes for 2 tires and fuel at least. But when you're 3 laps down and now the dead last of the cars who have not been parked on the pit lane for any length of time, yeah, I don't think that's gone to design for Dustin Kleba. But you know what, Zach? It's time for the North American Racing League Driver of the Day vote. He's a lock, right? Do we even have to say it?
Nope.
All right, moving on. I'll give you 2 picks still. I'll still make 1. Who you got?
Gladulich. I'm going to go for my first pick. That number 20 car has impressed me all day long. And then I think for my second pick, we talked about him early on. We said he was a nomination. Right behind him, he's 1 lap down. Cody Smith in that 9th position, that number 42 car, worked himself up. He's picked up 11 spots, was 14 earlier. There's still time for him to go catch his teammate Brian Jones, but I think that 42 car has just impressed all day long with the amount of positions that he's been able to keep up in that race car. So the 20 car Gladulich and the 42 Smith are going to be my 2 picks for the night for NARL Driver of the Day.
I've got one in mind, but first I want to go to an honorable mention, a couple of them. Hunter Sr., one of them. He's got a lap lead. He started this race on pole position. He's been good. Unfortunately, not good enough to win. He is 15 seconds behind Dalton Tucker. Again, Hunter's been very good today. If not for the 3 car, we could be talking about him as the race winner here in a few. Unfortunately, the 3 is in the race, and Hunter Sr. has been running behind him all evening. So Hunter Sr. is an honorable mention for me. Not quite there, but very, very close. Brady Mote's also in the conversation. I mean, again, just like Gladulich has put the strategy together nicely. The reason I'm not picking him here, Zach, is I don't know that he gets to the end yet. I don't know that for sure. I'm a little more uneasy about the lap he pitted on last. I think he can do it. I don't know if he will be able to do it. Brady Mote's definitely in the conversation, but I'm going to give my other pick to Ryan Housden. Started 17th. Much like Cody Smith, has only had that one caution. Here he is passing Brady Motes for 4th. Now he's up another spot. I really like what I'm seeing out of the 15 car lately as a whole. He was lightning quick at Charlotte at times. Great in the All-Star Open. Fantastic again in the Charlotte 450 last week. I really think Housden is hitting some mid-season stride. I really want to see this 15 car in victory lane somewhere other than Daytona or Talladega, and with Housden behind the wheel. I think it can happen this season, and I think we're getting close. So Housden's my other nomination. Let's go ahead and get that vote going over on YouTube. But frankly, they're all chasing the black number 3. There he is.
Unstoppable. Nothing has faced him all race long. And in about 7 laps time, coming to 6 to go, I think it's clear cut and dry who we're going to be seeing in victory lane. Unless a big old mistake happens, I think we're looking at a race winner.
And there he goes by Brady Motes. I mean, Motes is top 5 still, 6th, or 5th rather. 6th is about 5 seconds back, as I was trying to say. So still in a good spot, but if we do get a caution, Zach, it could be between these two. Jones has just about caught Keaton Henry Oaks. These two are on about the same strategy. 5 laps to go here soon. They are pretty close. This would be for 7th on the racetrack currently.
Too much time remaining, so if it's going to happen, it's got to happen soon. Jones a little wiggle right there on the front stretch. You can see them both running that higher line, getting a maximizing corner exit. Their teammate Cody Smith still well a ways back. I got to give an honorable mention to Josh Conover, though. He has worked himself back into the top 10 after having an abysmal day. Realistically, I mean, fired off strong, we talked about it, and then fell way back. Obviously had the speeding penalty that really hindered his performance, and in a race that has only seen 1 caution for a matter of just a few laps. I know we got a graphic for that, so I'm not talking out my butt there. There it is, 3 laps. 1 caution, 13 lead changes, but they've all cycled back around to the same driver at the end of the day. We've still got a lot of time left on the clock, but not a lot of time left in the race. 2 laps to go, Andrew, for Dalton Tucker. It has been one heck of a performance for that 3 car. He has led so many laps so far on the day, and as we approach 3 and 4, it's going to be the white flag in the air. 1 lap to go as we pass the start-finish line, presented by Whiplash Sim Cams. It has been the 3 car on lock all day today.
I don't think there has been any question on who would win this race since the drop of the green. Dalton Tucker has absolutely, I can't say it, BTA. He has absolutely run the show here today, and he will come off of turn 4, albeit slowly. I'm not sure. I think he's trying to get Modes back on the lead lap. Yeah, he was getting Moats back on the lead lap. That's all he was doing there. But that's across the stripe for Dalton Tucker. Does that fall in the 100% rule? I don't know. But Dalton Tucker, I mean, for the rest of the race, it was 130%, it felt like. So I guess that's okay. It evens out. Still some battles to the flag stand. Moat still has to get back to the stripe.
I got Conover back on the lead lap, by the way, and Moats makes it back around. You know, if I was Tucker, I would let Moats just cross the start-finish line behind him, because that would have helped him on some fuel saving, but Tucker's going to go ahead and burn it down 2 weeks in a row. That three car is going to go to victory lane.
Don't forget the All-Star race.
Well, I wasn't here for the All-Star race, remember? That was my birthday.
Well, you should have been here. Dalton Tucker, 3 weeks in a row. Obviously only 2 for points, and he is now your series leader on wins here in 2026 at 4. He breaks that tie with Hunter Sr. They shared the front row today, but Dalton Tucker in victory lane, of course, all by his lonesome here this evening. And that
Call him Jimmy Johnson.
That might go down, Zach, as one of the shortest, if not the shortest race of the season, based on time alone. We've only been live for 2 hours and 5 minutes. That was an incredible performance, not just by Dalton, but the entire field. To run 240 at Dover, and only 3 of them were under caution, because we only got the 1 yellow on lap 1, and it was just because somebody got a little bit loose on cold tires. What a story that is just for this league to be able to do that. That takes, even with only 25 guys here tonight, that takes some special drivers. Sure, there were some other incidents, maybe could have been cautions, but there was only the 1 caution all evening long. 188 laps led by Dalton Tucker tonight. And the number 3, right back on top, just like the last 2 weeks before it. Hunter Sr. second, Jacob Gladgelich third. He, of course, one thing we do know about him, he doesn't do interviews. We'll get a chance to talk to Ryan Housden this evening, as Brady Moats will finish just behind in 5th. Jake Christenberry will go 6th. And then that just kicks off the whole train of guys 1 lap down, including Caden Henry Oaks, Brian Jones, Cody Smith, and Josh Conover. Boy, oh boy, that was a very, very interesting race.
Interesting to say the least. That race could have gone 50 different ways, sideways, and yet it didn't. So here we are at the end of, again, what you said was a relatively short race. Pretty surprised, all things considered.
And the results there on your screen, 11th through 20th, Ronnie Norman, Nick Ham, Cody Anderson, Kevin Baumler, and Kyle Rochelle. Those drivers all 2 laps down. Dustin Kleba and Brad Fulham 3 laps down. Matthew George, Nick Geilis, and Christopher Heitz, the remainder of your top 20. On down to the final 5 on the graphic. Kite, Arthur, Tubb, Durheim, and Skinner. I don't think those guys really want me to talk too much more on their evenings. It did not go well for any of them. That's that as far as the racing thing goes. That was incredible as far as the beat down by the number 3 this evening. Nobody getting up to driver interview room yet. I think they're all just gassed from that race in general, Zach, but let's start to bring them up. Dalton Tucker, of course, the race winner here this evening. 3rd week in a row. I know only 2 for points, Dalton, but it's like something changed. We got, not even to May, because the All-Star race was technically in April still, but we got to this time of year and suddenly the 3 is alive. Do we think it's ditching that Wrangler paint scheme?
I don't think so, but I guess before I gotta say sorry for earlier today. Just feelings and emotions, just shouldn't have let it get to that point. I know that's gonna confuse people, but I want to start off with that. And I don't know, maybe the Intimidator scheme's good luck or something, because I didn't seem to have it with the Wrangler scheme, and seems like I got good pace. I know these are a set of tracks that I'm typically pretty good at, and it's definitely paying off right now. Maybe if I can get Hunter not to finish second, I can cut in on the lead some.
And I think you're definitely going to be still cutting in on the lead. I mean, max points, I'm sure, right? Most laps led, probably had the fastest lap out there. It seems like it was all the 3-car today. You mentioned tracks that fit your wheelhouse, to paraphrase a bit. Pocono's up next as far as points racing. Do we expect the same thing that we saw tonight? Just copy-paste, move it up to Pocono?
It's hard to really judge these, but I typically run fairly decent there. It's tough to pass. It usually goes green the whole way, so it's another one of those where you just can't make the mistakes, and you just got to be perfect. There's a lot of these guys that can run a perfect race, and one slip up.
It definitely seemed like, as I think your connection there dipped for a second, definitely seemed like one slip tonight, and that's all it would take. Obviously, there's plenty of racetracks like that on the calendar. Do you think maybe sometimes the newer cars that guys can drive in the sim lull them into a sense of kind of being able to bounce around a little bit or push the car a little bit? It seems like in this car, there's just such a small window that you can run within before you're overstepping and crashing.
Yeah, this car is absolutely different than, say, the next gen. I'm sure you've seen enough of them where the next gen, I mean, everybody's very fast. They're kind of running together, and you can kind of beat and bang with it. And this one, I'm not going to say it's line specific, because you can kind of make the top, middle, or bottom work, but it's definitely not as forgiving. Especially at Dover, you hit the right side, I mean, your right front's gone. There goes your long run speed. And with the next gen, it's just, I hate to say it, it's a better car, but it's worse racing.
Well, Dalton, here we are. Congratulations, you are now the wins leader finally this season in the NORA Retro Cup Series, and I think that just might carry the rest of the season. It's looking like the year Dalton Tucker, but hey, congrats. Hopefully we're talking to you again soon. I know we have the Prelude next week and then a week off before Pocono, but I think this momentum might continue. Congratulations once again.
Appreciate it, Andrew, and hopefully we'll be talking a lot more throughout the season.
I think so. I at least have a feeling. But there you go. The number 3 this evening on rails, Zach. I mean, there was no denying him, right? It just that felt like that was going to happen since we went back green after the first caution. That said, I did not expect this guy to be second. Hunter Sr. coming at you.
Yeah, fresh off of taking my hard-earned $50 last week at Charlotte. Hunter, you're going to rally back for a second-place finish after what was the top 5 last week. And, you know, you were in the mix most of the day. You started first, you finished second. You only led 1 lap, but you stayed in the mix all day. How you feeling after that one?
Pretty tired. That one was definitely exhausting. I feel, man, I'm happy for that to be over.
All but 3 laps were green flag racing, so every single lap was just, I want to say it was, yeah, I was going to say brutal, but the mental fortitude prevailed. You still rallied back for a second place finish. Do you think in any way you could have shaken up the strategy and somehow to catch Dalton Tucker and potentially get your lead back and, you know, finish 1 spot higher?
I mean, it crossed my mind, but I mean, just coming into this race, I mean, qualifying on pole was, I was kind of shocked when I saw that. I can't express how much I hate this track. I mean, it's one of those places that whenever time I see it on the schedule, I dread it, and it's somewhere I do not like racing. And when I saw that I qualified on pole, like I said, I was shocked. And to be able to, you know, sit in the top 5 all day, I said during the race I didn't think I had a car to even contend for a top 5, and I was honestly impressed that we were still up there. And at the end of the race, you know, you have those moments where you think, like, you know, can I pull a strategy out and potentially try to take a win? But when he's 10 seconds ahead, he's just killing the whole field. You know, there's all you gotta do is just sit there and settle for second. And I'm happy to finish second. Like I said, I don't like this track, and to be able to come out and, you know, qualify on pole, put it on second place, and that's a good enough feeling to walk away. And especially after that was exhausting. Like I said, that was not easy in the slightest, especially in this car. It was brutal.
Absolutely. And then rolling into, you know, the last question here before we send you on your way, what do you take away from this race specifically? You know, you still kept yourself in the hunt, and more than likely, Andrew's going to have a field day with keeping you on top of the power rankings. You've been sitting there the whole season so far. Josh Conover was within 0.2 of you, and now he's probably going to drop further back. So, again, I say, what do you have to take away from all of this?
I mean, the first thing is that nowhere. I don't think. I mean, you guys do a lot of broadcasting, and I know that a lot of us, everybody in this league has done a lot of league racing. I don't think you can go anywhere in a league that runs this car specifically at Dover and run that many laps under green. With that many people, that's insane. That's my first takeaway. And the second takeaway is the fact that, no matter what, as long as I'm up here and I'm trying, I may not be as fast as Dalton, Vinny, or Brian, or even Josh. There's a lot of others, but I'm going to try my absolute hardest to keep this points lead and do everything I can to stay on top of those power rankings. And tonight, like I said, being a track I don't like, to be able to come in and do that, I'm going to keep trying no matter what. And especially with these tracks coming up, there's a lot of opportunities to be able to maybe race him for a win. I didn't think we could do it tonight. I don't think anybody could have done it tonight, but there's some chances coming up that are going to be possible to race for a win.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on your second place finish here tonight. Hopefully, we will be talking to you again soon down the road. Congratulations.
Yes, sir. I hope it's Indian. Do you mind if I give a shout out to Juicy Spider real quick?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Go for it.
Thank you. And before I say that, I want to give a shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for the broadcasts. Every league I race, I watch these broadcasts next day every single time. Sometimes I watch them as soon as they end. So thanks to you guys. Thanks to Juicy Spider, Nick, Josh, Jared, Donald, Andrew, Mike, every single person, Bubba, who does my paints, Bubba Designs. I know it's a simple car that I'm running tonight, but he kills it with paints. Like I said, big thanks to you guys. Thanks to Juicy Spider. Thanks to Highside Podcast, Bubba Myers Designs. Every single person that supports, this league. This league is amazing. I know that I got a lot of crap for the luck, and I kind of lost it a little, and there's little arguments here and there, but no matter what, you race with guys every single week, you're going to have that. And this league is absolutely amazing, and I couldn't be happier to race in this league, especially my favorite car. With you guys broadcasting, it's amazing, and thanks again.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations once again on your outstanding second place finish tonight. Hopefully we'll be talking to you again soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. You have a good night.
You as well. That was Hunter Sr., your second place finisher, and then you said it yourself, Andrew. Jacob Gladgelich not available for interviews tonight, so we're going to move on to the fourth place driver, Ryan Housden.
And I'm excited to talk to this guy. Brady Mo's this guy. I mean, Brady, he mentioned in the production chat that he wanted to interview with us, Ryan, and I said, no, I want Housden. P4, you were super fast at Charlotte. It feels like this Blue 15 has a breath of life in it that it never did have. What is it lately that has you running up front like this? I mean, today I don't think you were even necessarily breaking the sound barrier. You were just quick enough and consistent enough and safe enough to end up P4.
Yeah, well, I'll start with tonight. I mean, I messed up qualifying last week, which is why I started, I think, like 19th or whatever it was. And so already started behind the 8 ball tonight. I knew it was just going to require a lot of patience. And I mean, ideally the perfectly timed cautions, but we just kind of didn't get cautions. So I had to make that ground up under green, which I pretty much did that on the back of being pretty good on long runs. Like about 30, 35 laps plus into a run, I think I was just like 0.2 faster than about everybody. So going green, it wasn't ideal for making up like track position, but that's the kind of race I need. Same with how Charlotte went last week with all the green flag laps.
A bunch of green flag laps. I think we said it a couple of times before the race ended, and Hunter just said it really nicely in his interview. It takes a special league to do this 240 times around this racetrack in this car with this many drivers and only have the one caution. Sure, there were some incidents that certainly could have constituted as one, but we didn't get one. We just had the one caution, and even that would have been a couple of, little things here and there. I think we have a pretty special thing here in this league, which I think drives drivers to be that much more, I guess, what's the word? I guess competitive. I mean, you guys want to do well in a league that is running well, right? So as we get into the summer stretch, how do you push yourself to continue to be at this level, maybe kind of like Hunter even said, at a racetrack that maybe he didn't like tonight, go up there and go second place, or in your case, go for some more top fives, maybe even a win soon?
Yeah, I think my process is kind of getting ironed out. again, I think last week at Charlotte, I kind of just put myself in a bad spot. It kind of took away a really good run. But this week, I managed to kind of run the same race just from further back, and I never made the mental error that kind of took it away from me. I was really hoping to get Jacob there for the top 3, but he did a fantastic job saving the fuel. So did Brady. I was shocked that those guys were able to save it and keep it up towards the top 5. So, shout out to them. But yeah, as the summer stretch goes on, I forget the tracks coming up. I think Pocono's all right for me. I'm kind of on the better side of the road course drivers here, I think. So maybe some good road course runs coming. But we'll see. I'm feeling confident. I've got a lot of ground to make up on the points, I think, with some, I missed a race and I had some wrecks, but just keep my head down, keep grinding. I'm feeling fast. I feel like I'm getting faster every week, and maybe one of these races, something happens to Dalton. I'm not praying for it, but if something does, maybe I'll have a shot.
And if we look back at the points graphic from this evening, 43 out. I think certainly with Donald, Ronnie having issues, Wayne wasn't here, Tubb had problems, Vincent had issues, Brian Jones, he finished the race, but back in 8th. So I think you certainly, and even haven't had a bad night in 14th. You are probably going to be in this top 10. I think that's fair to say, moving into Pocono a couple of weeks, right? So
looking at those
good.
numbers, that does feel pretty good. Are they still doing the 400 point cutoff though? That's what I'm afraid of, because Hunter's just kind of long gone.
Yes, I believe that's
correct.
Gonna
get tricky. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out a way to out consistent Mr. Consistency.
Well, so I believe you don't have to be within 400. It's just that would be a wild card. So it's the top 10 in points plus anybody who's not already in that is within 400 of the leader. So if 11th, 12th, 13th are within 400, I believe they would be added.
Okay, you just taught me something, and that makes me feel a little bit better about my chances, because I feel like, I can make up a small amount of points, so I like it.
Yeah, and I think you'll be in after this. So Ryan, again, it's good to talk to you. I've really liked watching the 15 lately. So, hey, best of luck. I'm at least in your corner.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. It's been fun watching the broadcast back. I know my mom and dad are trying to watch every week, and I want to shout them out. My Uncle Joe, I think, was watching tonight too. So finally got to I didn't put in the podium for the interview, but I'll take the consolation interview. I feel like I drove a really good, clean race tonight, so I'm happy to put that on display for everyone. And shout out to you guys for broadcasting. Shout out to my teammates, Dalton, Kevin, Brady, Ronnie, everyone in the chat there. We all kind of stayed cool, collected tonight, and it was a good race for DEI, I think, overall. So appreciate you guys.
Absolutely appreciate you. I really thought we had something there, putting him up for driver of the day, Zach, but he will end up second on the vote. Ryan, thanks for your time. Congratulations.
All right, thanks, guys. Later.
And topping that vote, this is pretty cool. How about Jacob Gladgelich? He will be today's North American Racing League driver of the day. There's the graphic. Hey, good on him. This was a good race for him. He put the strategy together. I think the light bulb moment for me was when we hit the number of laps he needed to go to the end. He had just pitted, and he was third, right? That was just that was incredible. So, or I guess second, actually. He pitted from second. That's what it was. So yeah, just incredible stuff out of Gladgelich. Moats did the same thing pretty much. I think even Ronnie Norman was kind of in that boat, and he went 11th, so he at least made it better for what it was for himself. I also want to single this guy out. Caden Henry Oaks, he only joined a few weeks ago, and I don't know what kind of experience he had prior in this car, but he has just lit things up. He has been fantastic when he's been able to be on the racetrack without getting crashed, both in the Richmond race and the All-Star race. Oh, and actually, in the Charlotte race a week ago, just bad luck, got taken out. Here he is finally, a race where he can just race the racetrack, and he's 7th. That's pretty cool. For somebody that I was roommates with at one point when we were both young, dumb, and trying to figure this thing out in the racing industry in Mooresville, North Carolina, and here he is on the sim, back at it. He's had some time on and off, and here he is. It's cool to see 7th place for Caden this evening. So I'm sure I'll get a Snapchat in a minute from him talking about it. But yeah, congrats to Caden, having a good night finally, not being somebody's brake pedal into the corner, and here he is, top 10. So, Zach, as we look forward, we've got some great racetracks coming up. And this league, I think, had a slight just kind of hiccup at Charlotte with a little bit of a crazier race, a few more cautions when they typically have green flag looks. But I look at the whole middle column, and every one of these racetracks until we get to Daytona and Bristol. Those are the only two that I look at in that middle column and say, yeah, we'll have some cautions. The rest of those, these guys can absolutely do most of these races, mostly green flag. I think Zach might have stepped away.
No, I'm just in awe.
Speechless, I suppose.
Kind of taking it all in a little bit. I was not expecting this race to go green as long as it did. I was going to say fully green, but we did have that first caution. You know, in terms of races that we may see a complete green flag run outside of road courses, it's hard to place a bet on one, to be perfectly honest. My next guess would be Pocono or Michigan. They're wide tracks. They are, well, I should just stay with that. They're wide tracks. They're fast tracks. Maybe Indy? I'd be surprised if we had a caution-free race at Bristol, but I'd be too dumb
and that's
to
what I
place
was saying.
a safe bet on that one.
I feel like from here to the end of this middle column, the only two tracks really where I think, yeah, we'll have maybe a larger number of cautions are, again, Daytona and Bristol, maybe Chicagoland, maybe. Otherwise, I mean, a lot of room for these guys to stretch their legs. Obviously, the road courses, we haven't hit one yet this season, but we have them all in this column of racing. Sonoma, 2 weeks later, Montreal, about a month later, Watkins Glen. Those races obviously be caution-free, no cautions in those, but hey, it'll be a lot of fun to see how this all pans out. I do want to look ahead, of course, what's upcoming for us here at Pit Stop TV. We haven't done so yet this evening. This went by in just one fell swoop, so here we are. Texas, tomorrow night, the BRB Sundance Pro Series goes Lone Star 6 shooting down at Texas Motor Speedway. I'm trying to get the bad Texas jokes out now so that we're a little bit better off tomorrow night. But yeah, Texas tomorrow should be a lot of fun. I will say this ARCA car at Texas is going to be an experience for sure. I'm intrigued to see how it goes. And then Wednesday, May 13th, Eldora, the Big E, for Dirt Sprint Car Championship Series racing. It'll be the first time they go there in 5 years. The last time was March 3rd, 2021. So 410 sprint cars at the Big E should be a great combo Wednesday night. And then Thursday, it is championship night for the North American Racing League AM drivers as they head up to Wisconsin. Should be a lot of fun up at Road America. We have the weekend relatively quiet until we go racing at Charlotte on Sunday morning with the All-American Racing Network. Zach, I'm excited for that race. They've had some buzz lately and some great storylines. Chris Winstone has been tearing things up. You know, Chris from the sports car road course world, I believe finished 4th at North Wilkesboro on Sunday. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely. And, you know, I'm looking down the bottom and I'm trying to figure out what's different here because you said we got a new social media graphic.
I haven't put it in yet. I haven't put it in yet. I'm making you wait. I see. Okay. I thought about not telling you at all, but I told you. So now I'm going to surprise you with when I put it in the broadcast.
Lord of mercy.
Yep. I'm like that. Well, anyways, thanks for watching this evening. It's been a pleasure as always. I know tonight was a little bit different, a little bit quieter, not in a bad way, but Dalton Tucker just put a beating on the field. A clinic, school is in session, I don't know how you want to put it. Dalton Tucker, just best of the evening. He simply won this race in dominating fashion. He was the best here tonight. So congratulations to him. That will do it for us here at the racetrack, though. Of course, a big thank you to Harpoon Design, Sparks Builders, Clark Contracting, and NORA, and our partners here at the channel, Whiplash Simcams, MXWraps.com, ATVO, Murder C Sports, CC's Business, the North American Racing League, Whiplash Creative, and TZO Designs. That will do it for us here this evening at Dover Motor Speedway. Until next time, thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for the BRB Sundance Pizza Pro Series at Texas Motor Speedway.
Bye.